I've worked as a nurse in several hospitals and long-term care facilities over the years. Before my current position, I was employed at a geriatric hospital about half an hour from home. I had experience with elderly patients before, so it wasn't anything new to me. Still, I only lasted a few weeks at this place, and you'll soon understand why. It was my second to last shift, though I didn't know that at the time. I was working the graveyard shift, barely functioning on what felt like negative hours of sleep. That night, I was assigned to the memory care ward, primarily Alzheimer's patients. They usually took a liking to me. Being a woman in her 20s, my presence seemed to pull them out of the mental drift that can come with dementia. I think they felt grounded when I was around, something familiar in a world that no longer made sense to them. I had a full list of patients that night, but one in particular stood out, a woman named Martha. That night was the first time I'd personally been assigned to her, and she was more restless than most. Every time I stepped into her room, she'd tell me about the voices she was hearing and the man in black standing in the corner. Her roommate had requested her curtain be drawn before my shift even began, just to block Martha out. That woman was kind, she smiled at me often, but barely spoke and had trouble remembering anything beyond 5 minutes. By 11 p.m., nearly every patient was asleep. But not Martha. She'd call me into the room in a panic, convinced someone was in there watching her. She was terrified. And though I believed she was hallucinating, I still couldn't help feeling unnerved. I tried to comfort her the best I could, assuring her she wasn't alone and that I'd be there if she needed anything. I didn't turn the TV on since her roommate was asleep, but I held her hand and told her to breathe. Eventually, she settled down. When I came back to check on her later, she was finally asleep. Once the ward is asleep, time slows to a crawl. It always feels like the clock is ticking backward. Around 2 a.m., I was in the linen closet stocking up supplies for the rest of my rounds. The room was tiny and sealed shut, no windows, thick walls, dead silent. That's why it was so disturbing when I heard something behind me. I turned quickly. Nothing. I chalked it up to fatigue and kept restocking. Then, I felt it. A hand, solid and unmistakable, resting on my shoulder. I whipped around, screaming. Nothing was there. But I felt it. I knew what I felt. I stumbled out into the hallway, expecting to see someone nearby. But it was empty. No nurses. No staff. Just that dead, unnatural silence. Trying to shake it off, I went back in to finish up. As I turned toward the door, I dropped everything in my arms and fell backward onto the floor, screaming louder than I even knew I could. A man was standing outside the door, looking in through the small window. He was dressed all in black. And he was smiling. I blinked. He was gone. A moment later, the door opened. One of the other nurses rushed in to help me up off the floor. I was shaking. I asked her if she saw the man in black. Her answer chilled me. What man? There's no one else here. We checked the ward together, every hallway, every patient room. No man. No black clothes. No one unaccounted for. My screams had woken up half the floor, including Martha. When I went to check on her, she looked scared. Her eyes were wide, and before I could even say anything, she whispered, the voices, the screaming. I sat beside her and asked her a question that had been burning in my brain. What does the man in black look like? I asked. Does he smile? Her eyebrows pulled together. For the first time that night, her face became focused, present. Then she asked, how did you know? Even though my heart was still pounding from what I just experienced, it skipped a beat when she said that. Then she started screaming. Get me out of here. He's coming. She kept repeating it. Over and over. Other nurses rushed in to calm her down. She was inconsolable. I was moved to a different wing for the rest of the shift. A few hours later, I left early and drove home in silence. The next day, I texted the head nurse to let her know that my next shift would be my last. I was traumatized. I didn't feel safe in that building anymore. She was surprisingly understanding about it. To this day, I've never had hallucinations, never been diagnosed with anything mental, and nothing like this has ever happened to me again. Yes, I know the effects of sleep deprivation, but this? This was something else. The cold grip on my shoulder. The face behind the glass. And Martha describing exactly what I saw, before I ever told her. This was one of those once-in-a-lifetime, unexplained things you hope stays once in a lifetime.